What is going on? Pete Moriarty here. Thanks so much for joining another live stream, yet another live stream. We were cut off last night actually because there was an electrical storm which completely took out the internet. If you missed half of the last question, sorry about that. We'll have that published up on the channel in a clip shortly. But today I am going to be answering more of your questions live. So if you're interested in dropping in a live question, you can head along to ask.itgenius.com. That's ask.itgenius.com. And I've just dropped a link down there in the comments as well. And you can ask me a question live. I'll do my best to get to the live questions. If you are watching live, make sure you say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. We've got customers all over the world, audience all over the world, which is pretty awesome. I think we just hit 30,000 subscribers on our channel, which is pretty great. And I'm here to help you if you're an entrepreneur or small business owner with your tech. If you want to get systemized, organized, and scalable, well, we're here to help you make sure you get everything right so that you can do that. All right, well, buckle up. We've got lots of questions to answer. And if you want to ask a question live, just remember to drop it in ask.itgenius.tv, and that'll drop a fresh question in, and I'll be able to cover it for you. Now, our first question of the day is here from Anonymous. Actually, this one is, "Hi, Pete. I hope you're doing well. What would be the advantages and disadvantages of having a CRM that is based in your email, like Streak and Copper, over one that is not, like HubSpot or Zoho?" Great question. The good old question of CRM systems. Now, before I answer this, it's important to know that there are different levels of CRM systems. The most basic level of systems, I would say, would be most of the apps that live inside your inbox. And they're really going to be primarily helping you out with the basics of deal flow management. And what that means is it's going to be your, taking people through different stages of a deal. It's going to be maybe tagging prospects or tagging partners or tagging customers if they're interested in a certain product, or if there's a certain value, ascribed to an opportunity. But they're going to be pretty basic. Now, the level 2 or the second level of CRM systems is ones that start to add in some automation tools, or maybe email marketing tools. Maybe you can have drip-fed email sequences, and they start to add some smarts to them. Now, these are the tools like Infusionsoft, or formerly Infusionsoft, it's now called Keep. Ontraport was another popular one for a while. ActiveCampaign. I would even put MailChimp in this list almost these days, because you can start to do some sequences there, but it's not really a CRM system, is it? So these kind of systems, they are more focused on, I guess, holistic marketing. We'd also put, HubSpot in this box as well. And then the top tier of CRM systems is your enterprise solutions. So ERP systems like NetSuite, Salesforce is obviously one of the most popular ones, been around for a very long time. And they require, let's say, an enterprise level of sophistication. You're probably going to be engaging a consultant, or most definitely going to be engaging a consultant to actually implement them. There's a lot of upkeep, the licenses are expensive, and you're probably going to be spending 6 figures per year just on the licenses and the upkeep of a system like that. So now you know where the levels are, we can answer the question. So, what's the best way to work? Something that lives in your inbox, or something that is, running in its own app? Now, personally, we do a lot of work with Copper CRM. We're a global partner for Copper, and we've implemented it into many, many small businesses. And Copper, I'd kind of put it between category 1 and category 2. It does, work right out of your email inbox, and it's a basic CRM system, right? It does, basic deal flow, pipeline management, customer records. But Copper's got a couple of really cool features that I like. Number one, it's deeply integrated with Workspace. And for a long time, they basically designed the app to be as closely integrated with Google as possible. And I thought for a long time that Google was going to buy them. Frankly, I'm surprised they haven't so far. But anyway, Google's Google. They make funny choices sometimes. But what Copper CRM also gives you is the ability to send basic email campaigns right from within the CRM system. So that's pretty cool. It doesn't have the sophistication of some of the other level 2 apps like, automated email sequences where you can track clicks and automatically have people funnel through different goals based on the actions that they take. But what it does let you do is, because it is connected to your email, it automatically ingests a lot of content into its brain. Now, why do I share that with you? I share that with you because that's an example of what I would call a best-in-class AI-driven CRM system. And many of the other apps have not quite caught up to where Copper are. And it's one of the reasons why this is one of the only apps that we implement in the CRM world for small business owners. There's plenty of other apps that do one thing really great. Infusionsoft will do emails and complicated email sequences really great. But, the landing pages, it's not so fantastic on. Something like HubSpot is really great at being a, ecosystem of mail, landing pages. It even has some e-commerce features as well. And I really like that about HubSpot. But it's not as easy to implement for a small business. If you're a small business owner and you've got maybe just 2 or 3 sales staff and you just need to kind of keep tabs on what's happening with customer deals and acquisitions, well, then you may want to run something that's sitting right inside your email because of ease of use and ease of access. Most of these email-based systems are going to automatically ingest all of that email information into their brain, and it means that you're not managing a secondary database. If you have a CRM system and you've got to run it as a separate app and it doesn't integrate nicely to your email, what tends to happen is you have a set of communications happening inside your email inbox, and then you have a second set of notes that lives mostly exclusively inside your CRM system, where you're frantically trying to keep the database up to date with all of your customer information as you're having conversations back and forward with your customers. So I think the fundamental question to ask yourself when choosing what system is best for you is, where are you doing most of your work? Are you sitting in your email and processing and managing customer inquiries all day? Well, in that case, you may choose a CRM system that's an overlay over your inbox, something like Streak, something like, well, I can't say, I don't think Pipedrive does it these days. I know that Copper lives inside of Gmail, right? And it's got a little widget on the right-hand side, pulls in all your Gmail emails. There's a number of different options that are there, right? So if you're looking for something that is fully fledged or has, let's say, more sophisticated automations, more sophisticated platforms to build on. I didn't mention Zoho, but I'd put that kind of somewhere between category 2 and category 3. Like, it's got a lot of those, enterprisey features of being able to build on the platform and build out quite sophisticated workflows. But you've basically got to live outside of your email there if you're managing a system like that. And my personal preference is for a business owner or for an entrepreneur for you to stay out of email. I don't think it's very productive for you to be stuck in email all day, because it really just promotes you being stuck working in the business instead of on the business all day long. And that's not a good place to be as a business owner. But for your team, well, that might be fine for them to be living in their email. That's not an issue at all, right? Because if their job is to respond to customer inquiries quickly and be super zippy on email, if your customers like using email, then great. Maybe that's totally fine for them to live inside their email inbox and use an app inside their email inbox. So you're going to have a trade-off with tools that live inside your inbox, because some of them are quite basic. You're going to get more features, and as you become a larger business, 20, 30 employees, and you have maybe 5 people or maybe even 10 people on a sales team, well, you might step up to the more sophisticated CRM systems that exist for businesses that have grown out of the small business space. But if you're just starting with a basic team and you need a basic customer database to do some deal flow management and to help you with some deal tracking and some numbers tracking and activity tracking for your staff, well, it makes sense to start with something basic. And for that, totally fine to work with one of the apps that runs right inside your inbox. Now, I have mentioned Copper CRM a number of times. It does happen to run inside of Gmail and inside your inbox, but the real power of Copper CRM, even though it does integrate deeply with Google's inbox, is in the browser. When you access the browser in Copper, you can see all of the reports, you can see all of the insights, you can manage your deals a little bit better because you get a dedicated screen for deal management, and you can also, of course, extract all of that data if you want and have reports built inside of Google Data Studio. And so that's our recommendation for small businesses who want to have the integration with Gmail and basically have all of the data automatically collected from your Gmail into your CRM system, but you don't want to be hindered by something that has to literally run in the Gmail app, like with solutions like Streak. Now, that said, I haven't used Streak in about 5 years, probably due to do another review of it. But that's my thoughts on the CRM landscape if you're deciding to choose between the two, either working in your Gmail or working in a dedicated app. Great question. Love that one. Okay, let's mark that one as done. And if you are on the live stream, please make sure you jump in. So Ben, hey, thanks for joining on the live, Ben. I'm talking about Copper CRM, but the question was actually choosing between email-based CRMs and CRMs that live in a dedicated browser. And I just covered a whole bunch of those top to bottom. You might want to restart the stream when you get a moment, and you can grab my answer to each one of those. Okay, cool. So let's move on to our next question here. So this question is from Ollie Church Road Co. Thank you for the question. My organization has 250 workplace accounts on Google. Is there any way I can get a discount on new users, or will it always be $5 monthly? Wonderful question. If you choose to work with a partner such as IT Genius, we actually have access to discounts which are off book, which means we can get discounts that the public don't always get access to. Number one, because we're a partner with Google, and we're able to sometimes pull some strings with our account manager friends over at the Big G. But number two, because we're a business, we are able to control our own margins. So obviously we buy Google Workspace at a wholesale price, being a reseller, and then we sell it at the retail price. But if you're a large organization and you've got more than 50 or 100 employees, well, there's usually a little bit of wiggle room with the ability to price licenses. So if you're interested in discounts, we can sometimes share some of those discounts to you. Now, there's also another way to approach this. If you're a business and you have different uses for the number of staff that you have inside the business, well, you might not necessarily need a full license for every person. Now, depending on which SKU you're using, whether you're using a business account or an enterprise account, there are obviously different plans within each one of those SKUs, but you also have the ability to do what's called split licensing or split billing. And that means that you can have one portion or one cohort of your staff on one license and another cohort of staff on a different license. That might mean that you want to reserve premium features for staff that are heavy users of Workspace and need to use all of the features available, versus maybe field workers who only need an identity to log into chat. Maybe they don't need a mailbox, but they just need to access certain resources. You can share certain levels of access to certain groups of staff, and that's called split billing or split licensing. Now, if you're interested in that, you need to get in touch with our team. You can click on the link down below this video and ask them about access to split billing. And previously, this was only available to organizations which had more than 100 staff or 100 users. And now we've actually been able to apply to Google for as little as 20 user accounts for split billing. So if you have a genuine need for split billing in your account because you have different users with different uses, well, you may choose to use different types of licenses for different types of staff inside your business. And to do that, have a chat to our team. Click on the link below. You can book in a free consultation. Great question. Love that one. All right, cool. We are going to move on to the next question. Okay. I use Trello for my small business to send SMS notifications to clients. Is it possible to connect Trello with Google Messages? My goal is that when the card in Trello is marked as completed, the client will receive an SMS message on their Android or their Apple phone. Okay, good question. Now, if you're a small business owner and you're using technology to systemize your workflows, whether it's in sales, whether it's in customer delivery, big thumbs up from me. I am a full supporter of that. The challenge with what this person has asked for specifically is, can they integrate with the Google Voice, I assume, Google Messages service? Now, there is a way, but I don't recommend you do it. Now, let me cover why that's important. When you use a service like Google Voice, Google initially designed it as a consumer service, but they've now opened it up to businesses. It's designed for effectively business communications, yes, but it's designed for casual business communications. The moment that you start using a programmatic, let's say, programmatic method of contacting your customers, for example, if you were trying to do a mass SMS campaign, if you were to use something like Google Voice for that, well, you're going to run into the potential for Google to flag your messages as spamming, because effectively you're starting to use it for commercial messaging. Now, the problem with that is if you were to automate this, and there is a way, but if you were to automate this, you run the risk of your account being completely shut down by Google, and that's not going to be good for you at all, particularly if you've got customers who are trying to respond to an SMS campaign and get in touch with you. If your account's switched off, they're going to have no luck with that. So my strong recommendation is that if you're looking for an automated SMS service, that you use a dedicated SMS sending service, of which there are many online, that are built to actually send messages to customers en masse. Now, I'd probably start with a service like Twilio. Twilio is designed for mass communications, and it has really flexible APIs that you can probably connect straight up to Zapier and send automated SMSs from your CRM system once somebody reaches the right point. But let's say if you really wanted to send them via Google Voice, I actually found there's a Python script online. So if you are a techo, there is a way to automate it. And that script will allow you to send SMS messages through your Google Voice account. Now, I haven't tested this, and I certainly can't recommend that you do this with these kind of tools. It's unsure to know what kind of results you'll get because there's no official API from Google. And when there isn't an official supported solution, when there isn't official documentation, my recommendation is if you want to rely on this as a business, well, you choose to do this in a way that is suitable for a business application, and that's using the right tools that are actually designed for the job. So if you're interested in sending messages out to your customers on an automated basis when they reach a certain stage of a deal or a certain stage of a product delivery, my recommendation is to use Zapier and then direct them through Twilio. Now, if you'd like some help setting that up, that's the kind of thing that our team can do with our concierge program. We will help you to implement and set up any of your Zaps that you desire. If you want to just send us the instructions on how you'd like that to be configured and let our team know the credentials for logging into the different apps that you want to have connected, we will build out your Zaps with any conditional logic that you'd like included in there for a free service as part of Concierge. So if you're a Concierge member, you can just ask our team to get that done for you. If you're interested in Concierge and you haven't yet joined, click on the link down below and our team will be sure to help you out. Great question. Love that one. All right, let's mark that one as done. Okay. So I got this question a couple of weeks ago, but I guess I'll cover it off again. I want a Chrome tablet. Do they exist? Yes, indeed they do. Chrome tablets do exist. Let's go and open up. I don't think there's many though. So Google made a Chrome, I think it was called the Chrome Pixel tablet. I don't know if they're still making it anymore, but let's go and have a look for it. Here we go. And effectively, this is a tablet running on Chrome OS. And here we go. Now, this is a kind of interesting space at the moment because Google have the Chrome operating system, which is Chrome OS, and that's different to Android, which some tablets also run Android. But the Chrome OS can run Android apps. So if you buy a Chrome tablet, well, then you can run Chrome apps and you can also run Android apps as well. The confusing thing is, why doesn't everyone just make Chrome tablets instead of Android tablets? Well, because Android is technically a mobile operating system rather than a desktop operating system, and it tends to be just a little bit lighter on resources. So therefore, most people stick to running Android on a tablet rather than the bulkier Chrome OS. Now, don't discard Chrome OS on a tablet. It works pretty good with styluses. It's built for touch input because most Chromebooks are touch right out of the box. So I've not tested it myself personally, but I do have high hopes for how the experience is running Chrome on a tablet. I've run a Chromebook for many, many years, and I would often use my Chrome Pixelbook in tablet mode, meaning I'd flip over the screen and I'd be able to just use the touchscreen on that tablet, effectively a laptop that became a tablet. And when I used that, it allowed me to use a stylus, a pen, I could draw, I could type with it. And I did really like that, using the touch input for just about everything that I did. Now, that said, these haven't had a massive take-up. I would recommend if you're new to a Chrome device, I would choose a Chromebook or a Chromebox first. they're probably a better way to get your feet wet, just testing out Chrome OS, seeing if you like it, and using the inputs of a keyboard and a mouse to get your work done before you go ahead and make the jump straight into a tablet. It is a different operating system, and it's not a mobile first operating system. It's a desktop first operating system. So you're going to have to get used to how it works, in my opinion, before jumping straight to a tablet. But I'm 99% sure, even if you did buy the Chrome Pixel tablet, well, that you could actually connect a Bluetooth keyboard and probably a Bluetooth mouse. Some of them even come with docking stations, and with that, you can actually just use it like a laptop if you wanted to. I still haven't decided to make the jump completely to tablet living. I've got an iPad Pro, and I find myself still going back and forward between that and a desktop or a laptop style computer. I don't think there's any utopia in devices that we use, but if you are interested in Chrome in a tablet, Google makes one, and that's probably the best place to go to test it out. Good question. All right, cool. Thank you very much for that one. Okay, we have another question here. How can I retrieve a Google Meet that I didn't record? Good question. We get this one pretty regularly as well. Now, if you're in a Google meeting and someone wants to record the meeting, the recording has to be stored in a Google Drive somewhere because all of Google's recordings automatically get saved to a Google Drive. Now, how the rules work if you're working in Google Workspace is that the organization that organized the meeting, so that's the person who arranged the meeting and put it onto Google Calendar, is the only person who's allowed to start the recording of that meeting. And that's because the meeting is effectively owned by the organization that started the meeting based on the person's calendar that it got placed onto first. Now, there's some ways of doing this with shared calendars. So if you have organization A and they want to schedule a meeting for organization B, you can share a calendar across and the recording will work across the different organizations. But let's say, for example, you're on a meeting and you're not the owner of the organization, or you're not the person who's the owner of the meeting because you didn't schedule it. Well, you may not see the recording button in your Google Meet, or you might see it and it's just grayed out and not available for you. Now, what happens in that case is the person who is the organizer of the meeting needs to start the recording, or at least someone who has the same domain name or email address as that person. Now, when that meeting is concluded and the recording automatically finishes, it's going to be placed into the Google Drive of the person that owns the meeting. So the person who's organized the meeting, that domain name is effectively the owner, and the recording is going to be placed into their My Drive, and from there it's going to be shared with the participants in the meeting. But the owner of that recording becomes the person who was the organizer of the meeting. Okay, great. So let's say you've participated in a meeting, somebody else recorded, but you don't see it in your Google Meetings recordings right now. Well, what that probably means is that the meeting was started by somebody else and they're the organizational owner. Now, depending on their sharing settings, you may or may not be able to go back to the calendar event, open the calendar event, and sometimes you'll be able to see the meeting recording automatically saved into the calendar event. And if you were a participant in that meeting, you can typically click that button and access the recording. It will have shared view access to you if you were a participant. But if you, for some reason, based on the sharing settings or based on someone manually changing the access to that file, don't see access to that meeting, well, it's up to the person who organized the meeting and made the recording to find that recording file and share it with you. Now, there's two places they can go to find that recording. Actually, there's three. Number one is inside their Google Drive. They can go and find it manually in the Google Meet recordings folder. Number two, they can go to their calendar and they will see it attached to the Google Calendar event. If they were the organizer of the meeting and they initiated the recording will definitely be attached to the calendar event. The third place to find it is for the person who made the recording in their inbox. After a meeting recording is completed and it's finished rendering, and this can take up to an hour after a meeting has finished, well, the person who recorded the meeting will receive an email message that the recording is finished and ready to view, and they can then access it and share it back to you if needed from there. Great question. Love that one. Cool. All right. Our next question. Someone has asked, and by the way, before I cover this question, if you'd like to ask me a question live, just remember you can drop it into ask.itgenius.tv and I will do my best to answer questions live for you. Okay, cool. Let's jump into our next one. All right, where's this bad boy? There it is. I want one email to go to several emails. Okay, this is a great question. Love this one. One email to go to several emails. Now, the easiest way to have one email address filter into several emails or several mailboxes is to use something called a distribution group. And we set that up in our Google Workspace admin panel. Before I jump into the technical side of things, I want to draw it out for you so you get an idea of how it looks and how it impacts your licensing as well, because most people have questions around how the licensing and the costs work when they want to set up group-based email addresses. So let's go ahead and jump into our drawing here. I'm going to open up my Jamboard. Oops, wrong one. Okay. Now I've misplaced my pen. Probably helps, doesn't it? So let's go ahead and jump right in. Now let's imagine we have an email domain and we have a number of mailboxes. So let's say I have Peter here and I have a second email with Bob there. But I want to create a distribution group. And that distribution group is created when I have a central email address, and that email address needs to be automatically sent out to multiple people. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, our distribution group, let's say, for example, I want sales at to automatically go to Peter and go to Bob as well. Now, if we use the distribution group method, it's automatically going to place a copy of that email in Peter's mailbox and a copy of that email in Bob's mailbox. And setting up a distribution group inside of Gmail is pretty straightforward. We're going to go to our admin panel. We're going to go to the groups service, so directory and then groups. And then from there, we're going to create a new group. I'm going to call it test. And I'll call it sales because that's what this person wanted to call it. And I'll click next. Now, you can see here that there's a number of different options for how we select this group. And from here, we can choose who is going to be able to send emails to this group. Now, by default, it's set to public. And effectively, when you set it to public, what that means is anyone in the world can access and send messages to this group, right? And so public means this is going to be exposed to the world and anyone can send an email to that email address and that's going to land in those mailboxes that you've defined. Now, that may be what you want, but keep in mind that this can Keep in mind that this can introduce a risk. And the risk is that spammers are usually sending emails to the most common email addresses that people use publicly. sales@yourcompany.com, info@yourcompany.com. And so we want to, oh, and it appears like I've lost my camera here. Bear with me one moment. I'm just going to do a little reboot on my camera. And we're back. That was odd. All right, let's see if it's actually brought me back. Yes, it has. Okay. So, so you're introducing risk. And when you expose an email address to the world, it means that pretty much anyone can send an email to that email address. Now, Google spam filters are pretty darn good, and they're going to be able to filter most of the spam email out of anyone just randomly shooting off messages to random email addresses. But it's not perfect. So just keep in mind that if you want to make this a public email address, be mindful that people are going to try and spam it. But that said, if you only need to use this internally, Google also has an option for that. So you'll see here in the group options, I may choose to untick the external box under who can contact group owners. I may also choose who can post to leave that unticked from external as well. Now what that means is nobody has access to this from the outside world. If I do want to expose this publicly, well, I want to tick the external users can post and external users can contact group owners as well. We probably wouldn't want to tick this box who can view conversations, because that would effectively make the whole list of all of the messages, including potential sensitive information, public to the world. So we want to make sure that that one is kept private. But if we're using this as an email-based distribution group, these settings will allow you to share it with the right people inside your organization. Now, what about when it comes to licensing? That's the next question that we usually get. Well, in your Google Apps account, you're going to need to pay for each one of your mailboxes, and I call them buckets of email. Now, each one of those mailboxes is going to cost on a per user basis, but when you set up a distribution group, there's no cost there. Probably helps if I put the $ in the right place. There's no cost for a distribution group. So if you're interested in setting up one email address that goes to multiple users, well, you don't have to pay for that. But this is the simplest way to implement it. There is a second solution or a second option, and that option is to set up a shared mailbox or a delegated mailbox. Now, when you configure a delegated mailbox, it looks a little bit different. Let's say we still have Peter and Bob. Let's move them over here and let's draw this one again. So with a delegated mailbox, we have Peter, we have Bob, and we create a sales mailbox, but we actually this time pay for a license. And with a sales mailbox, we set it up just like any other user. And what we'll do is we delegate access from the sales mailbox to Peter and from the sales mailbox to Bob. And what that effectively lets us do is to allow them to access that mailbox securely without having to necessarily know the password. Now, this is a feature that not many people know about inside the Google Workspace ecosystem, and it's called delegated mail. Now, I've got a number of other videos on how to set this up, but I'm going to show you very quickly how to make sure it's switched on for your domain and then how to set it up yourself. So number one, we want to go into our admin panel. And inside our admin panel, the easiest way to find this is to search for the word delegate and go to the Gmail settings and find the delegation settings inside of Gmail. Now, you can see here that I've chosen to allow users to delegate their mailboxes. And what that means is they can share their mailbox with somebody else. Now, how the method works is we first sign in as if we're the new sales mailbox, and we share access to our mailbox back to Peter and access to our mailbox back to Bob. And this is what it looks like inside the sales mailbox. So I'm going to use my mailbox as an example, but you would follow this on the sales mailbox. So I go to my main Gmail settings here. Oops, that's not the right button. That's the right button. Inside of my Gmail, I click the settings wheel and then see all settings and then accounts. And from here, you can see the option to grant access to your account. And that's where I will share access from my account to someone else. But in this case, we're going to be sharing from the sales mailbox to Peter and from the sales mailbox to Bob. And when it's all said and done, now imagine that I'm back in Peter's mailbox, because I am, if I want to access the sales mailbox, I just need to go up here in the top right-hand corner, and you'll see here there's accounts that I have the password for that I'm actually signed into, but there's also accounts that I've been delegated, and I don't need to know the password to those accounts because they automatically show up. And if I choose to open one of those accounts, I can open the account and it will automatically open in a new tab without me needing to sign in. Now, that's the magic of delegated mailboxes, and there's different reasons why you would choose each, and I've covered those in other videos that you'll find on our channel. If you search for shared mailbox, you'll find the different strategies and reasons why you might choose to use a delegated mailbox versus choosing to use a Google Group service, otherwise known as a distribution list. Hopefully that one has answered that question for you, and look forward to the next one. Okay, well, we haven't had any other questions come through live. I'm going to wrap it up here. If you haven't already joined one of our online boot camps to learn more about Google Workspace, we have one coming up sometime probably in the next 2 to 3 months. So make sure you're following us on the socials and you are on our newsletter list. You'll be able to access that once we announce the next event. And if you're interested in learning more about IT Genius, click on the link down below. We have a free consultation available, eligible for all business owners, even if you're a sole operator, right up to a large organization with hundreds or even thousands of users. Our team will be very happy to help you out, give you some guidance and support. And if our concierge product is a good fit for you, then we'd be happy to welcome you as a member. Now, if concierge isn't right for you and you're just looking to like fix one thing with your account, maybe it's archiving some user accounts that are no longer being used right now. Maybe it's, checking and fixing your DNS records, making sure they're tweaked and all, aligned as they should be so your emails don't go to spam. Maybe you want to change something in the admin panel and you're just not sure if you're doing it right. Well, you might want to check out our quick fix service. So to access that, it's really simple. You just head along to itgenius.com and you'll see right here in the menu bar, it's called Quick Fix, and it's only a couple of $100. And that will get you access to our support team for one support request. Now, that may be something like fixing your DNS records. It may be something like changing a user account. It may be something like setting up a new account if you're new to Google Workspace. But if you're interested in something small, you're not yet ready to commit to joining Concierge for the year, that's totally fine. You can just jump on to the Quick Fix support. Anyway, I'll say goodbye now and sign off. Thank you so much for joining. Look forward to seeing you in the next one. And please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you're not already following me on Instagram, if you're interested in what I'm up to in my personal life, you can click on down to the link down below here and go through to peter.tv and you'll find my personal website with a link to all of the socials there. I even have another channel. I've got a couple of other channels actually. If you're interested in more about my philosophy of business and entrepreneurship and how that intersects with my passion of psychology and leadership, well, you can check out my channel. It's under my name, Peter Moriarty. You can search for it. Otherwise, head to peter.tv and all the links are there. Okay, till next time. Cheers.